there's so much I love about Chile. I'm so appreciative to some of my early companions who introduced me to the concept of looking for the positive. I think it's so easy when you get into a new situation to look for what's wrong or what's different, and sometimes in our minds we equate what's different with what's wrong. And some of my early companions showed me that no, it's just a different way of life. It's just a different thing, and so I loved learning about the Chilean culture. I think a thing that I appreciate and admire about the Chilean culture is how dedicated and loyal people are. People are about families, and they love their families, and they take care of their families from when you're a baby to when you die. And I saw so many people, taking family members in that were this removed cousin or my grandma that's super old, and so now she lives with us, and I loved that sense of family stick together, no matter what. I was actually talking to someone today about that very thing, and so that was one of the things about the Chilean culture that I admire the most, was how loyal people are to each other, especially their families. Another thing that I loved about Chilean culture was just how kind people are generally. People are generally really nice. Even if they're not interested in the message that we were sharing, they'd be like, hey, how's it going? Come on in. You're thirsty. Do you need something? And obviously that's not everyone, but for the most part, people were just very friendly and very trusting and welcoming. And especially when we were in these smaller communities, where I'm sure missionaries had been before, and they'd heard some of these things a million times, they still would invite us in, listen to our messages, give us water, make sure we were taken care of. And I think to my life right now, I'm like, am I that trusting? Do I allow people to come into my home and treat them and with goodness and kindness, and give them the benefit of the doubt? And so anyway, that's something I definitely admire about the Chilean culture there. I love the food in Chile. I remember one of the first things I noticed about eating in Chile was that they didn't have salad dressing. And I didn't really like salad before my mission unless it was, covered in salad dressing. And so when I got there, they said, okay, salad dressing is salt and like oil. And so they'd give us like a piece of tomato and a piece of avocado and a little bit of lettuce. And they said, there's your salad. And sprinkle a little salt and a little oil on it. I was like, this is so strange. And it took me a minute to get used to it, but I prefer it now. It's a nice, clean way of living. And some of the different things I love, specifically, I love the Chilean mustard. They do hot dogs in a really cool way there. They call them completos, and they put mayo and avocado and Chilean mustard and ketchup. And it maybe sounds weird, but it was so good. Like, just clog your arteries good. And so that's something I really loved, a favorite dish for sure. Something that a lot of Spanish and Mexican and South American cultures can relate to are the small little pastries called empanadas. Sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they're, with beef and meat and stuff. I loved empanadas, and one of the fun things about serving in a lot of my areas is they just have vendors of empanadas that would go around, and if you needed a snack or if you wanted a quick lunch, you just buy an empanada, and they were really good. They were homemade, and I remember one of my areas, we'd have a gentleman come every day at the same time, pass by our apartment and ask if we wanted them, and I would always get, some empanadas from him, and that was a great memory I had. But overall, the food was really great. I don't do fish very well, and I was really nervous, or any seafood for that matter, and I was really nervous. Chile, being that skinny country on the side, right next to the ocean of South America, I was afraid that I would eat a ton of fish. And I don't know if it was just where I was serving or what, but I actually didn't have a ton of fish. I'm sure those people who like fish would go and they'd eat it, and they'd probably say it's really fresh and yummy. But only like in one area was I ever even offered a thing of seafood. Maybe it's because I always told people I didn't like seafood. I don't know. But there wasn't a lot of that. It was more rice and meat and beans and salads and vegetables. European style, almost American, but not quite. But very, very tasty. I would say it's, in the best sense of the word, a bland palate, meaning there's not a lot of spice and kick to the food. It was just the natural, tastes of the food, and they would combine them in the very best ways. And I mean, I loved eating in Chile, definitely. And the bread. Oh, I forgot about the bread. The bread was to die for. They'd make it every morning, and typically you'd buy bread in these small little round loaves. You can in a lot of different ways. They had a lot of different kinds, but the most common was these small little round things of bread, and they were hot, and sometimes you'd put some avocado in the middle or whatever, and some jam, and just really amazing. An interesting thing too that the members would do out there, they'd have this, it is kind of a substitute for coffee, so they have this kind of meal called onse, which is kind of in between lunch and dinner, kind of a brunch type thing, and it was very cultural to sit down to onse and have tea or coffee. And during onse, members would have this drink called echo, which is kind of can be compared to postum, or just kind of ground wheat type stuff, and you put some sugar in and mix it up, and that was kind of their coffee substitute, so they could still feel like they were participating in culture, but still keeping the word of wisdom. And the first time I had this echo drink, I wanted to spit it out. It was just totally nasty. I mean, just think about like grinding up some wheat or grass and putting it in water, and that's about what I felt like it tasted like. But again, after a while, I got used to it, and I really liked it, and I even brought home some cans of this echo stuff, and I still have it, and it's fun to occasionally pull it out and drink a cup of echo and whatnot to remind myself of having onse with these people. So